Welcome back to Cards and Comics. Today I want to discuss Ken Griffey Jr. cards. And I'm going to talk about specifically the Ken Griffey Jr. cards I collect. And I'll go through not only pricing of recent cards, but I'll go through sort of my thought process around what cards I choose to collect and how I think about the hierarchy of Ken Griffey Jr. cards and how I kind of categorize and almost create different, pillars or slots for these different cards, and how I think about, how they kind of rank in terms of the overall Ken Griffey Jr., card universe. And so I'll go through that piece, but then I'll also review sort of some of the misinformation about Ken Griffey Jr. cards, in my opinion. What I look for and how I kind of think about, the cards themselves. I just want to go through, recent eBay auctions and just show how, in my opinion, Ken Griffey Jr. cards have been very stable and have gone up. But there's also some dangers and some really things to watch out for if you're wanting to get into Ken Griffey Jr. card collecting. So I'm going to start right now with sort of my hierarchy, and it's a very rough sketch, and I'll walk through it, but it's not in any way designed to be a detailed map of how all Ken Griffey Jr. cards in the universe work. We'll get right into it right now. Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right, so this is what I call a collecting hierarchy. It's how I kind of create different silos or different slots for how I look at Ken Griffey Jr. cards. Now, every collector does it a little differently. And this is my way of kind of going through a card and deciding, how I view it in terms of, desirability, in terms of where I would want to, buy one card over the other, why I would pick one card over the other, and also how sort of the Ken Griffey Jr. universe overall kind of looks at this too, because when you're collecting a player that has so many collectors that do it, there is, let's say, themes that develop within the collecting universe where it's just accepted that this is a more desirable card because of different factors. So I want to walk through that. So the first thing that you look for as a Griffey collector is what year was the card manufactured, because that's the most important thing to start with, because Griffey had a lot of different eras to collect that really, to me, influenced desirability of the cards and, in a lot of cases, the value. Now, 89 to 99 are kind of like the golden years. That's kind of the years that most hardcore Griffey Jr. collectors pay attention to the most, because they're all cards from that decade or that 11-year run are with where he is a Mariner. And so in general, just like Michael Jordan with the Bulls, Griffey cards as a Mariner are by far the most valuable, and they're the earliest. So that makes sense. Now, 2000 is a mixed bag, because there's many cards in 2000 that show him as either a Cincinnati Red or as a Mariner. Most of the cards that show him as a Mariner are inserts or non-base cards. So in general, they're not as numerous as the Reds cards, but some of them are very important in terms of numbered, in terms of design, in terms of appeal. So 2000 is still an important year for Griffey collectors. 2001 to 2008 are what I call kind of the lost years for Griffey, because he's a Red. And in general, the value of those cards goes down tremendously compared to the 89 to 99 years, because you could have a card that, let's say ticks all the Griffey Jr. collector boxes, such as autographed, numbered, shiny, die cut, and it won't bring a fraction in general what a Griffey from the 89-99 period would, just because he's a Red. Now, to me, this is a great collecting opportunity, or it's a way for new collectors to get in on some rarer cards. I call at a much better price point. However, again, most Griffey collectors view, the 89 to 99 period as the golden years and strive to get those cards first. 2009 to 2010 is interesting because in general, there's cards both in 09 and 10 that show him as a Mariner. Now, Griffey ended his career as a Mariner. So you can find cards from those 2 years that are playing years of him as a Mariner. So it's kind of like, if Jordan went back to the Bulls before he retired, that would be an analogy. Or kind of like Pujols at the end of his career playing for the Cardinals one more year. Now, those cards don't have near the value as, again, the 89 to 99 cards. However, there's refractors, there's autographs. There's a lot of cards from those 2 years that show him as a Mariner. And again, he played for the Mariners during those time period. So that's a playing year. So to me, those are, again, cards that are sort of undervalued because it does tick the box as being a Mariners card. And from a playing year as a Mariner. But it's just end of career. So again, not as desirable as early career, kind of the, again, golden age of Griffey. And then for me, beyond 2010 are I call them the non-playing years. And those cards have a severe, to me, desirability issue because I don't really want to collect cards from beyond 2010 unless there's just something really unique about the card. So, for example, one thing I do find very interesting to me is dual or triple autographs. So, Griffey and Jeter, Griffey and Jordan, Griffey and Trout, or something like that, or some really just interesting design. But really, it would be some kind of dual autograph, Griffey and Frank Thomas. Those cards interest me because it's just like getting a lot of hobby heroes on one card. I would look at those cards as being desirable for me. I'm talking about me. For other people, they almost strictly collect autographs. And so beyond 2010 is where a majority of the Griffey autographs exist. So to them, beyond 2010 is very collectible to them. To me, it's not as important, and I don't pay a lot of attention to cards from 2010 beyond 2010 because, again, unless it's something really unique or rare, I don't really care much about those cards because I'm so focused on getting the playing year Griffey cards in my collection. Now, when I look at card type, to me, this is kind of what the card is. It's a base card, it's an autograph card, it's an insert, it's a parallel. And, depending on the year, some of those things are very, very important. For example, Griffey does not have as many autograph cards from 89 to 99 as he does post 2000 and on. So those cards from 89 to 99 that are autographed, and there's not that many of them, become, huge cards in the Griffey universe. Because in general, they're all on card. In general, they're very short print cards. So just to get, the Griffey autograph cards from 89 to 99, those are all very unique and special cards. Base cards, obviously his rookie cards are very important. But beyond that, there's a few base cards like the 93 Finest, which in high grade brings good money. 91 Stadium Club brings good money. Tiffany cards, O-Pee-Chee cards, Desert Shield cards. So again, you could say some of those are parallels, but some of those are based as well. And again, inserts become a huge deal in 89 to 99. So and beyond. So there's some inserts that are some of the most important Griffey cards of all time. And then parallels, obviously 93 Finest is one of the alpha and omega cards from Griffey, and it's a parallel. So again, those are very important distinctions in the Griffey universe. And there are collectors who just specialize in one of these card types. Like they're either a parallel collector, like a refractor collector, they're just an autograph collector, or they only look for inserts. And there's people out there who just want the base cards. Like I want every Griffey base card. And so it does create people who collect by kind of card type. And then the details of the card. Is the card numbered? What's the insert ratio? This is something I really look at because when you look at inserts that are not numbered, then you have to really go to how rare that card was for that set. I open a lot of boxes on the channel where I look at, 97 Finest or 99 Chrome, or, I've opened up 97 Donners, or 98 Donners. And, you're looking at getting an insert, and a lot of times those cards aren't numbered. So you have to kind of figure out, what's rare, what stated print runs were, the insert ratio. A good example is like the year that Ultra did the gold medallions in Fleer Ultra. They were all supposedly 10 times harder to get, regardless of the insert. So if the insert was like a 1 in 10, the gold medallion was a 1 in 100. If the insert was 1 in 360, then the gold medallion was 1 in 3600. And I don't know if those ratios actually hold water, because, I do see gold medallions for some of the rarer inserts, but I don't know if that's just because they're super rare, or if those, 10 time, factors don't hold water. That's something that I would love to deep dive into at some point, because that's interesting. But that gives you an idea how insert ratios can either create something super rare, and it creates opportunity, because a lot of people don't really pay attention to insert ratios, and they go by sort of how popular the card is. But you might find there's a really attractive card that is a really rare card, and maybe it's just not taken off in value yet. And still, I think in the Griffey universe, there's a lot of cards like that. I think like the Kramer's Choice cards, to me, seem very cheap for a very cool design card that always was one of the harder insert ratios to pull. So that's just an example. From a manufacturer side of it, let's face it, in general, Topps cards during this time period and Upper Deck cards were much more popular than a lot of Fleer and Donruss cards. Now there's exceptions. There's the Crusades. There's, different insert sets from Donruss and Fleer that were popular. But, like the refractors from Topps, Chrome and Finest, have taken off in terms of value quite strongly, where you've got like Donruss, which their preferred collection cards, which are very similar in design, have not as steeply as the Topps refractor card. So it does show that there's a bias towards certain manufacturers and sets. So some years Chrome is more popular. The years that Finest did the gold cards and the gold embossed refractors, that was much more popular than the Chrome that year. So it's kind of like some sets designs do create, a lot of desirability within that card. And then design, shiny refractors, things like that, the preferred collection cards. People just love them. And to me, shiny is, a hallmark of that time period. And those refractors in general were harder to get. They didn't dilute the refractors with multiple versions. In general, 96, 97, you had gold, silver, bronze, but, those were all, based on different designs for the most part. So you didn't get the same card in 3 different colors. But, in later years, you started to see the different color versions. But like in 97, 98, Chrome, you only had one refractor, and they were hard pulls. Then you got, the numbered refractors below 100. Now, that's an important thing I should talk about is, when you talk about numbered cards for Griffey, the magic number is around 100. So once you get to 100 or below, those cards become super desirable and rare and become very collectible, and they become kind of the targeted cards for the Griffey community. So those have almost a special little designation. So if you take any of the designs, like shiny, die cut material, if it's let's say it's a patch card, game use card, autograph card, whatever it is, and it's numbered out of 100 or less, then that just makes the value so much more expensive. And then there's cards between 100 and 500 that have that next tier of desirability, but pricing definitely doesn't hit those as much as those 100 or below cards. Now, die cuts were tremendously popular amongst Griffey collectors, especially the ones from 89 to 99. So again, you got some really crazy die cut cards, the cut aboves, things like that. People really like those cards. Even the really easier to get cards, if they've got a cool die cut, you'll see some premium paid for those. Some cards are made out of wood, sometimes have patches. This is really when that time period started. And again, game use. So, if it's, a game use, piece of, material, then that's becomes even more valuable. So that's how I kind of look at it, from, what kind of card it is. And again, if you follow my channel and see what I buy in my Griffey collection, obviously the two areas I pay the most attention to are the shiny, the autograph, and the rare insert ratio inserts. So, that's where I spend a lot of my time looking at is how hard was it to pull? Is it shiny? Is it autographed? And if it's all those things, is it numbered? And that's sort of my hierarchy. And then I want to make sure if it's from that 89 to 2000 range. So, when I look at cards on eBay, I start looking for cards that were 2000 and before. I look at to see, are they autographed? Are they shiny? Are they die cut? Are they a rare insert ratio card? And if they're autographed and if all that's true, then are they numbered? And that's sort of how I look at it. So we'll go look now at eBay, and I want to go through some different auctions and give you some idea of pricing and things that I think are really interesting or things that are kind of crazy and stay away from, and just give you some idea on some of the cards and why they are either good deals, bad deals, or why they're so expensive. So we'll go there next. All right. Three, two, one. All right, so now we're on eBay, and right here at the top, you can see this little search I do. I always search for Griffey cards where I put minus 1989 because I don't care anymore about the 89 cards, the rookie cards, because I have all the ones I want. I have all the rare ones, and I don't need any more 89 cards. In general, there's no real inserts or things from the 89 sets that I really need. So I just exclude them because a lot of auctions and a lot of cards sell from 89 that are expensive, but I don't need, and so I just exclude them. Now, that's going to make the search a little different, but to me, I don't care about the rookie cards anymore because I'm paying attention to inserts, autograph, parallel. So I exclude 89 cards from this set search from the Griffey search. Now, what I want to go through is sort of the cards that are selling in this range, because in general, even if you had the 89 cards in there, they're not going to be in most cases the most expensive card sold. There's a few cases that you'd have a very expensive card, like the number 89 Upper Deck PSA 10 or the Bowman Tiffany PSA 10, but in general, they're not the most expensive cards because of other cards that are much more rare that sell, like this Skybox Molten Metal Fusion Titanium. So this is a platinum portrait in all but name. And this was the one that's numbered out of 50. So it's kind of like if you combined a PMG and a platinum portrait together. This is what this card is. A lot of times the platinum portrait cards in later sets or in other sports weren't numbered. And so this is a little bit of a different thing. Now they call them, metal fusion titaniums, but again, it's that laser die cut portrait on them, which is the hallmark of the platinum portrait set, but they're numbered. And so there was multiple versions of this card. I think there's a blue one, there's a regular one, and so even the base card, it sells for a couple $100 for Griffey, the non-numbered one. So this one obviously numbered out of 50. Again, we talked about the 100 magic number. This is half of that. So again, this is why this card sells so much. Now, see here is the next card is a post 2010 card with a amazing logo patch. So that card brings some money. I don't know what it sold for, but it's a 101. Now, next you get into these cards right here. Now, hopefully for new collectors, they can see right through that this is just a scam. That these cards aren't rare. You'll see that this one card sold on November 10th, 12 days ago, but it's not a real thing. There is no such thing as a bloody scar card. They're not rare. People just, do this to try to generate try to get some kind of, someone to think it's real and make an offer on a card. And then, thinking that, oh, well, I made an offer of like, $1,000 on a $15,000 card and you took it and I got a deal. No, it's a scam. Those cards aren't rare. Next up is the Mickey Mantle, on November 7th, the Mickey Mantle Griffey Dual Auto. So I'm going to talk about this card for a little bit because this card has sort of been ruined in my eyes. I used to have this card in SGC 88. And the reason why I think this card's been ruined, now this card I think is real. I'll talk about what I mean by real. So what people have done is because of how Upper Deck created these cards, they have taken the Mantle card. So there's three versions. There's either a Griffey Auto by itself, a Mantle Auto by itself, or a Mantle Griffey Dual Auto, which is what you see here. And that version brings the most money, obviously because it's dual signed, and people, obviously pay a huge premium for it. What people have started to do, and you can tell because I'm sure later on as I scroll through, we'll see this card pop up again multiple times, is people have started taking the Mantle autograph, the single Mantle autograph, and going to shows and having Griffey sign where his spot is, thus creating a Griffey Mantle aftermarket dual auto. And a lot of people don't know the difference, that it's aftermarket. It's been signed after it's not pack pooled. And therefore that creates, to me, a false amount of those in the marketplace compared to what was originally issued. And so it appears that card has a much higher pop count than it should. And people think they're all pack pulled, in my opinion. No one really recognizes that a lot of those cards are aftermarket Griffey autos. And you can tell a lot of them because of just where the auto is at, or the color of ink pen used, or a lot of things are telltale signs that it's not an original autograph. This one, I think, looks okay. But if you look at the Mantle versus the Griffey, you see a lot of times the Mantle autograph will be faded and look really different than the Griffey, and they're supposedly signed at the exact same time. Why is one really faded, the other one's not? I think there's a lot of questions you would have to ask on this card. But to me, it's sort of ruined because now you have to kind of become an autograph expert to determine if the card you're looking at is pack pulled or is it an aftermarket. And sadly, the opposite's also true, where people are taking the Griffey auto and forging the Mantle autograph on it. And then that is even worse because now you got a forged Mantle autograph on a Griffey single autograph card. And that's just where it creates, basically a fake card at this point. That's why this card has been sort of ruined, in my opinion. Now, on November 17th, or just 5 days ago, this EX Essential Credentials numbered to 104. Again, this card is from 1999, so he is a Mariner. Big deal. It's numbered basically out of 100. Big deal. It's graded pretty well. It's a 9. It's good enough. Best offer of $13,000, took it. So again, the Griffey market's strong. So for this card, which is 100, even 100 cards is not that, to me, it's not extremely rare, honestly. It's a card that's very desirable. Essential Credential cards are a very famous set. So you're combining a famous set that has a lot of history to it, the Credential set, to Griffey from a time period where he was a Mariner, and it's numbered, and it's graded pretty well. So all those factors lead to someone paying $13,000 for it. But there's a lot of refractors from Griffey that are numbered to 100, which is actually lower than this card, that don't bring near this amount in a 9 or 10. So it just shows that being a Essential Credential, which is a set that has a lot of historical value in the basketball community, really has driven this card to even higher prices than a normal number out of 100 Griffey insert would sell for. Now the next card, which sold on November 11th, is even more special to me because then you get into Griffey as a red. So this is a playing year, 2007. But dual autograph, even though it's a sticker with Jordan, is pretty cool, pretty rare. There's only 3 of these. And I can see why someone would pay $13,000 for this kind of card. Now, they're both living players. So could there be more Griffey Jordan card collaborations in the future? There could be. But this is from his playing year. So you can't do this card anymore from when Griffey played. So that makes this card really special. So I really like this card. Again, the molten metal, you can see someone took a best offer. Didn't pay for it, I don't think. Because it sold again up here. It's the first card that we saw. It's the same exact card, same exact photo. So why did that card, get sold again? I don't know. Obviously something to get paid for. But again, here's that Showcase Legacy, that row 0, number to 100, bringing $12,000. However, it is a 10, and there is a strong community in the Griffey collector universe that only wants 10s. I graded my SP Signature Griffey autograph, came back a PSA 10, and believe me, I've been reached out to from some of those Griffey collectors that need that card in a 10, and it's a strong community that wants these 10s. So obviously a card like this is going to get a lot of attention, and they are very beautiful. I think they are some of the nicer cards from Griffey. As a parallel that's not a refractor, it's a different kind of parallel. And again, it crosses over to like basketball and other sports. So to me, and I keep saying crossover because let's face it, there's a lot of Jordan collectors that have now started collecting Griffey. It's happened. I know for a fact. I've talked to a few of them. They've kind of branched out into Griffey. Griffey's a lot cheaper compared to these similar cards for Jordan. And then even me, I collect Frank Thomas, and Frank Thomas is like a fraction, like 1/10 of the Griffey price. So to me, like when I want to reach out to get something cheaper as a baseball card collector, I go down and pick up Frank Thomas cards. As a Jordan collector, when they want to buy something cheaper, they reach out and grab Griffey cards. So it's an interesting thing. Now, Griffey cards have gone up quite a bit in value. You can see these are very strong sales. And so they're not as cheap as they used to be. They are creeping up in price because we've seen multiple cards selling over $10,000 already. Now, again, a fake card sale. This All-Star card isn't rare. I don't know why someone best offered, but again, they're trying to give you the illusion this card's rare. The Desert Shield card in a PSA 10, $11,000. That is insane in my opinion. Now, it is a rare card in high grade, but it is a pop control card in my opinion. There's not going to be a lot more added to the pop count because again, it's one of those pop control cards that PSA sort of protects. So this card is just always going to be super expensive. And again, this card appeals to that subset of Griffey collectors that want only 10s. Who'll pay a lot of money for them. So this card's going to stay high for a long time. I would rather have a 7 or an 8 in this card and just call it a day. I've had multiple opportunities to buy this card in that grade. I've never pulled the trigger because I do think there is enough enough card availability in those lower grades like that I can pick it up, but it's something I will eventually buy because it is a cool card. Now, the other reason why I haven't picked it up is because PSA and SGC and Beckett have all graded fakes for this card. And Blowout Forums, published, a guide on how to tell the fakes from real cards. And when I went through the guide, I couldn't tell the difference, honestly. It was very tricky to figure out what the differences were. So, and since PSA and SGC and Beckett have all graded fakes, it's a card I have stayed away from in high grade because of that fraudulent aspect of this card. So I would just say buyer beware in this card, especially raw. I would rather, again, have a card that was graded lower because I feel like maybe less of a chance of getting ripped off, but still not 0. So again, this is one of those buyer beware cards that there are a lot of fakes in this card out there. Another Griffey Mantle auto, and again, just one of those cards that you have to be careful with. You have to really figure out, is the Griffey a real Griffey auto? Is it a real Mantle auto? This card, again, sort of got ruined because of everyone doing the shenanigans. Again, the Griffey, stupid scar cards. I mean, again, just people trying to rip you off. Good thing here is this, refractor go best offer a 98. And again, it's a PSA 10. So again, that hardcore 10 collector community wants a card like that. And they're very, very nice cards. Very beautiful. I have this card. I I can't remember what grade I have mine in. I just picked up the 97 in an 8. Again, I have basically all the base Chrome cards now up until 2000. And I need to go back and get the 94 finest and the 2000 finest base. Sorry, the 99 finest base card. I have the 99 finest gold base card, not the regular. I need the 99 finest regular card and the 94 finest regular card. Now, this is something that you have to be careful with. So, again, it's still back in September, so it is a while back. But this Pinnacle Total Certified Gold Platinum card is non-serial numbered. And so there is quite a few of these cards backdoored. And it's sort of, in my opinion, really, again, ruined the value of this card. Because these cards are supposed to be numbered out of 30. And without the serial number, basically, we don't know how many actually exist now. Because, there was backdoored sheets that got out. Beckett's graded them. And now the question is, were they uncut sheets? I don't know. I'm sure someone has the full story. But people get fooled on this card because they think the no serial number was a mistake by the company. They just forgot the serial number. No, these are backdoored, cards that were probably held for like redemption purposes or for damage purposes or whatever it was. But they were never supposed to be released as is because the real cards are supposed to be stamped. So to me, this card is kind of, I call it an invalid card. It should never have gotten out. So the card with the stamp on it is the card that I would pay attention to and try to get and add to my collection. Obviously, numbered out of 30 makes this card super duper rare and worth a lot of money. But again, one that's not numbered, to me, doesn't fall in that category. And to me, is a card that's sort of illegitimate. The Crusade, I love a Crusade. So I have the green. It's going to get graded eventually. Obviously I'd love to get the purple. The red is just a mythical card. It's a unicorn. I will never be able to get the red for what I, would be able to, afford unless I just sold almost my entire other part of my collection to get it. So I don't know if that's going to ever happen, but the purple is still maybe attainable. If I package a lot of good cards together, I can probably, get up to this $8,000 to $10,000 range for what this card probably brought. And get the purple. So that's my next, one of my big goals is to eventually get a purple. But I have the green. Makes me super happy to have one of the Crusades because in hand, the Crusades are some of the nicest cards you'll ever see. Just like the preferred, the prize collection from the Donner's Collections cards. Those prize collection cards are super duper nice in terms of shininess. And to me, they're a little undervalued. The preferred version, which is the rarest version, are just great cards. This is the same way for the Crusade. I think it's underappreciated for how shiny and deep those cards are from a shininess perspective. Just super super nice when you have them in hand. Again, a Jordan, Griffey dual card, but it's post playing career, so not really interesting to me. And again, here's the same card, that Platinum Gold card, that says it's numbered out of 30. And again, it sold a little bit less than the one that was, it looks like it may have sold less than the one that was non-numbered. Again, the same, the Spirit card, the Platinum card version sells for a ton of money. It's a card that has been counterfeited. And so you have to be very careful on this card as well to know what to look for. I would not trust the companies and grading companies 100%. Do your own research on cards like this because of just how often these cards have been, faked. And, PSA makes mistakes. So does SGC and Beckett. So this is a card that you have to really do some homework on. Again, there's the another dual auto. So again, this dual auto Griffey Mantle card sells so often that, and you can see where this card has that Griffey auto almost touching the Mantle auto, and you go up to the other versions of this card that have sold, and you'll see that auto in some cases never gets close to the Mantle. In this version here, then you go to the very top, which I thought is probably the most realistic one of all, and you can see it's very far away, but all these autos look a little different. And again, I don't know, I'd have to do a lot of research, and I know people have done this to really know what a real auto looks like. Griffey could change his pen stroke or change the size. Obviously that could happen. But this is a card that I would never buy raw. But also even graded, you have to look at that, autograph. Now, Here's the AX Century card selling again as an. So this happens a lot too, where the cards aren't paid for. Now this is something you have to really understand about eBay, which is why comps are just kind of silly. It's because, man, like, the cards sometimes aren't paid for. I've had the similar experience where you see the same card selling over and over in a short time period. Now it could be a resale. A lot of times it's just the card wasn't ever paid for. Again, there's the Mantle Griffey card with another version of the Griffey auto that looks sort of suspicious. Because again, which of these are real Griffey autos? They all aren't pack pulled. I'm just going to tell you that right now. All these variations as autos. Some of these are aftermarket autos. Again, there's another one. There's another one. I mean, this one right here looks the most aftermarket to me with the authentic auto. Again, this is why I don't like this card anymore, because of how different all these Griffey autos look. Some of them obviously are, recent autographs. So just kind of ruins it for me. It's a great card. I own this card actually, the 8.5. Not this exactly card, but I have this. This is the copy I have as a BGS 8.5. The OG, parallel card, in my opinion, that people care the most about, 93 Finest. So that's a great card. Again, these silly, people, pitting these, super easy to find 90s cards and showing they're bringing thousands of dollars. It's just fake. Again, another Griffey Mantle dual card. Here's something really interesting for people is the SB Signature Gold. So these are numbered to 50. They are very difficult to tell apart. The one thing that you have to look for, so some people have tried to forge the numbering on this card. I've seen one copy of this in my lifetime, but the background of the Griffey of this card is in gold foil, versus like a silver foil, and it's very subtle. And the other thing too is that Griffey did not do the numbering, so it's it's an aftermarket numbering or after signature numbering. But I have seen people, one case where someone tried to forge a number on this card, and I think that was interesting because it's a beautiful card without the auto. Just the auto by itself is a great card, but someone trying to fake a numbered version is kind of silly but you can see why, $5,000, almost $6,000 for this card would make someone do something silly. Again, the aftermarket, after playing, days, Griffey Trout auto, still very expensive cards. These are the kind of cards I would chase a little bit, but I would not pay $5,000. I'd sink that $5,000 into a card from the 90s versus that year. Again, this is the Mantle by itself, and again, what I was talking about, this card can be sold with Griffey, with Mantle, and dual. So this is a card where someone would, with ill intentions, would buy this card, pop it open, get Griffey to sign it, and then regrade it. And now it looks like it's a pack pooled Griffey Mantle dual auto, and it sells for even more because this card sold for under $5,000. You can see up here, it was selling for more than that. So it's people are trying to create value that way. Again, $5,000 for a Griffey Trout dual auto, kind of ugly in my opinion. This Rave review card, or this this Rave card, number to 150. They are very pretty in hand. I have a few base players, base cards of this, or non Hall of Fame cards, of a Rave, just to see what the cards look like. I think I actually have a weight box as well, so I have one Hall of Famer. These cards are super nice as well, and that foiling on them, the front looks really nice. And I believe in Flare Metal, in Skybox Metal, Spider-Man, they kind of did an homage to this set and that. So maybe these become a little more popular. $5,000 for a 9.5 is a strong sale. And again, that was November 6th. So again, on the narrative on Griffey autos and Griffey cards being very strong market, you can see that these are fairly recent sales and the market's strong, and it's not a tanking market for Griffey for the most part. Again, ignoring these silly 90s cards. A Griffey Ichiro dual auto. There is a finest refractor PSA 9. This card has kind of stabilized a little bit. I would say this is the one card, the 93 finest refractor Griffey, that has kind of gone down a little bit because I think it jumped up so high. It is definitely one of those cards that to me has price corrected the most. That can really tell it's price corrected, just because of where it was, like in 2021. But it's it's still bringing a lot. And again, this card was printed a lot more than the 236 or 238 cards that someone estimated there was. That was just a pure estimate based on some math. Topps never issued out what the actual amount was, so they've never confirmed the actual print run. So we know based on what other collectors have collected that there's way more than 238 of these cards issued. So again, that number was just kind of an estimation. But anyway, there's still not that many, so it's still a pretty rare card. Again, just the manual by itself. This is a card I would have bought. I think whoever bought this card, if they paid for it, really regrets buying this Skybox Metal Universe PMG Red. To me, this is one of those FOMO type purchases that immediately the person probably regrets, because this card has been sold, after this pretty big discounts compared to what this one sold. But it just shows you that the Griffey universe of collectors is strong. People saw that PMG and just really wanted it. And you saw where, now people realize, like, it's not that rare. And it's not that really cool of a card from a picture perspective. There's a Platinum Medallion. There is the first game used card. So again, hard to see what the sales are. Here is a Fortune 15 that is a either a USA or a Pro. Great, holder, so makes it a little suspicious. But one of the most popular refractors of Griffey, the Fortune 15, numbered out of 100. So who knows what that brought. Very interesting card, this Upper Deck Retro Quantum Leap, numbered to 50, bringing almost $3,600 in September. Again, just a low number card. It's kind of a unique looking card, but not one of the ones you would just pop up, and jump at you and say, yeah, this is a super rare card. Again, the Fortune 15 bringing $3,500 raw, super strong sale. Just they don't come up that often. You'll see, you saw it twice, one in a USA holder. This is a really interesting. This last card I'll look at because I don't want to just keep showing the same cards over and over. But this Mother Lode, which is a card that is fairly rare. It was the rarest card in this set from a insert ratio. It's got a cool die cut, but it's not numbered. But you can tell that with that die cut, it's hard to get as a 10. It's a pop 4. And you can see that very strong sale of over $3,000 in October for this card. And it's driven this card itself in a lower grades to be higher. So again, it just shows you that set, Metal Universe, very popular. Die cut, very popular. Low pop count, PSA 10. You combine all that and you get this $3,000 card. So this is kind of just going through Griffey cards and seeing how strong the market is, and how people kind of collect Griffey and what cards to stay away from, what cards are kind of rare. This is just like every day. This is a Griffey collector. This is kind of stuff I look at. But the market's strong. I think could there be a correction? Sure, it could always happen. The one thing I will say that's the warning I would give for Griffey collecting right now is that the value is getting up to the point where in some years the Griffey card, for example, like Topps Chrome, like a 97 Topps Chrome refractor is getting close to the Michael Jordan pricing sometimes, or you see a one-off sale where you're like, wow, that card brought more than a similarly graded Michael Jordan card. And to me, that's a little dangerous because I don't think in any universe you'd say, like, if they're one for one, the Jordan card would not always outsell Griffey. So that means the Griffey market's really hot, but maybe it's a little too hot. And what I'm saying there is, right now I know there's a lot of new collectors. I don't say a lot, but there's enough new collectors who have serious money looking to build serious Griffey collections that is bidding against each other, driving the price of these 10s up specifically, and some of those harder to get inserts. So I think once those guys get their cards, the market will cool down a little bit. You may not see record prices being set. Every time when these really hard to get cards comes to market, you'll see some leveling off. Just like with the 93 Finest card, where I think most of those guys have their card now, that every time one comes to market, you're not seeing a record price or a huge jump because the big whales have their cards, and that's something that all markets like this have to live through. So there it is, guys. That's my King Griffey Jr. pricing review and sort of like my take on how I collect Griffey cards and how I think about it and how I think the overall market kind of evaluates and values Griffey cards. Let me know what you think, what cards you like, what cards you would collect, and what your experiences are with Griffey or other players. In the comments, let me know. Like and subscribe, please. I would like to grow my channel a little bit. Please subscribe if you can, and I'll see you next time on Cards and Comics. Bye.